Hi guys, it's me, Kathy, Mrs. HandyRU. Hope you guys are taking care of each other and talking to each other on, chat or comments, whatever it is. I think you guys should connect. So what I have here is a magazine, and I have another video that has a little part about this magazine already, but I went into, greater depth. And it's called Journal of Dreams. This one is about night trains. And it is by SAVINIEN CARACOSTEA. SAVIN. Okay. SAVINIEN. CARACOSTEA. And it was founded in June 1997 by cultural entrepreneur SAVINIEN CARACOSTEA at the tender age of 9. The Journal des Rêves, R-E-V-E-S, with an accent aigu, I think it's called, or Journal of Dreams, was relaunched in 2017 with issue 5, and 5 is comms, I'm sure you guys know, marking its 20th anniversary. Each issue features an eclectic cast of contributors around a specific topic and investigates it through the deconstructed lens of dreams and dream projects. So that's pretty cool. Now, if you want to get a copy of his magazines, I don't know how far back you can go, go to SAVINIEN, SAVINIEN.com, and you'll see the magazines. You'll see all kinds of interesting things that you should look at. I would look at every single bit of that website. And yeah, anyway, this is from November 2020, so I've had it a little while, and this is volume 8. And I think he's got a new one out right now. I can't remember what number it is. So I was going to read you the editorial, but it takes a little bit. And so anyway, on the back of the magazine is an album. Can you see it without glare? I don't know. Can't tell. Anyway, it's Night Train by Oscar Peterson. And there's a DVD, and it is, what is it? Can't remember now. Yeah, The Lady Vanishes, which is an Alfred Hitchcock movie, which is one of my favorite movies, so this has just been awesome. And Murder on the Orient Express, which this one is a book he's showing, and it's by Agatha Christie. Now, I was thinking about that name, Agatha Christie. Now, she does Poirot and all kinds of different things, and like Poirot is on YouTube, but it used to be on public broadcasting and all that. And Murder on the Orient Express, Juan brought up, recently he brought up Murder on the Orient Express, and what he said was, I'm not sure if it was on What I Got to Do with Him or not, but it was recent, and he said, he's referring to Murder on the Orient Express, which is also a movie, TV movie. And he said, they all did it. They all did the murder. Now, I don't know if I have those words exactly, but that was the gist of it. They all did it. And I don't want to spoil the movie, which I think I did in my other video. But anyway, I won't tell you the ending, but that's what he said. They all did the murder. And anyway, so the thing that really stuck out to me was that he said they all did the murder. Now, if you've been following me along with me, it sounds like they took poison instead of at the cross, possibly. Now, it's only a theory, so, don't get upset or mad or something, because I'm just going by what I get for, decoding. And I feel like I've gotten some things right, but I've gotten things wrong too. So it's okay to be wrong. It's okay to theorize. Anyway, so yeah, what it sounds like they did was they took poison, not the kind of poison that would kill a person, but the kind of poison that would make a person look like they've died, like probably lower their heart rate super slow, so if somebody checked, it would look like they had died, that kind of thing. So I think that possibly that happened, and it was possibly, I think it's definitely Mary, but I'm not sure about Jesus, but I think it is. I really do think it is. I shouldn't even say I'm not sure. But like I said, it's a theory. And you guys know that I change depending on what I keep decoding. And I've been decoding JUAN and President Trump and George News articles, or whatever he posts about the articles. And I feel like I'm getting the gist of it, and especially recently, JUAN just had one come out. It was a short one, just over 17 minutes, and it was with Tom Numbers on Psych Club, P-S-Y-C-H, in case you don't know. And he was at a car show at Mar-a-Lago, and I won't go into all of it, but he was saying things, and when you decode them, it's exactly what I was just saying. So to me, it was kind of like a confirmation that I'm kind of on the right track, at least, maybe to a point. So, and yeah, it sounded like he was just talking about cars, and oh, that's a cool car, and oh, that car won an award. But once you take those phrases or parts of phrases and you put them in gematrix.org, you find out, yeah, he's definitely talking about some other stuff. So anyway, he's also got on that website, SAVINIEN.com, he's got their maps, of course. Follow the Map was from our favorite Anon, some of his posts. And map happens to equal 30, which equals Joe for Joseph Patrick Kennedy Jr. So, like, basically follow the Joe. Who's acting like Joe? Who is Joe? It's Junior, in my opinion. He also, so anyway, he has it's three maps, and they fold into a square, and they're maps in New York City, and they show where the best, like, croissants and things like that are. So you take the map and you can follow where their top, maybe it's 10, I can't think of it right now, but where they think the top bagel and all that, croissant, where you go, how you get there. In New York, it's only in New York. And he calls them quantum crumbs. And remember our favorite Anon postings where, oh, I leave crumbs, like crumbs are left behind so that people who are following you can find the crumbs. So it's basically something out there to give a proof. If you want to look at it that way, it's like a favorite Anon 17th letter proof. So yeah. Anyway, look at SAVINIEN.com and look at their case studies. It's too long to go into, but the case studies are hysterical. Like, they have a Google case study and how they help them, and they had to work like round the clock. Think of the double meanings of that. What were they actually doing? Were they really working around the clock, or what were they? What was Savinien or Junior, who whatever, doing around the clock with the Google executives? I don't know. So I showed you the back cover of the magazine, and let's see, Murder on the Orient Express equals 328, and that equals just like what I was telling you about in my last episode that was live and kind of off the cuff, and I'm sorry, it was kind of chaotic, So Murder in the Orient Express, okay. equals 328. It equals the forbidden apple is humans are food. Okay, think about that. What was I talking about already? The forbidden apple wasn't like a piece of fruit. It was human DNA, like actual being. And Juan has talked a lot about the DNA. I don't think it's still available because it was with Linda McAllister. I don't remember if it's 3 years ago. He's talking a lot about the DNA. He had a whole episode about that. I don't think it's a coincidence that it came up, the forbidden apple is humans are food. Let's see. Yeah. So the DVD on the back cover was The Lady Vanishes. And it's by Alfred Hitchcock, who really did some, he's a director, probably around since the mid-30s. And so I did Alfred Hitchcock, 126, which of course equals 107. That's probably why I decided to do that. And it equals Todd Burgun, which was the name he called in under, as if he was part of the search team for the plane that went down, which was him. I mean, it's like he's calling in about the search for himself. He called into Channel 5 in Boston, and you know, he talked to them live on the news, and he just disguised his voice, and it's really funny. Let's see. Okay. What else equals under 26? Who killed JFK? Okay. 3 women, and I think I'm always talking about lately about there's 3 women goddesses and 3 men. And I think someone we know is the top, which is like the tippy top. And then we have all the FFs, you know, the false flappy things. Also matches Juan, 107. USA blackout, the atomic bomb, earthquake, solar flare, chemical warfare. And if you remember way back that in Syria they had all kinds of things happening that it looked like it was real. It was always on the news. And it looked like people were dying right and left, you know, little ones, grown-ups, everybody, from chemical things that were happening. And it would go on and on. I mean, there were different events, there was different episodes like that. And really saying episode is nearer the correct term, because it was all orchestrated, and it was like a movie. So even though it looked real, all you saw was these quick flashes. So if you sat down and analyzed these photos or whatever video, whatever they were showing, you'd realize it wasn't real. So anyway, it's probably going to look like that for us. It's going to look like people are going down right and left, and it's going to look really scary. But that won't be real. And it matches 107, you know. And This Is War matches him, and Witch Hunt, and The Apprentice, which was President Trump's show when he was just Donald Trump, and You're Fired, all matches 107 at 126. So then we have Pay the Price, All Eyes on Me, Hell's Real Dark. So it's gonna be like, I think it's part of, like I'm always saying, and you're probably sick of hearing me, but Revelation 11, where it looks like, you know, the 2 witnesses are here, which I think at the moment, like, I'm sorry if I'm wrong, but you know, it's a theory, it's going to be Adam and Eve, or further on, they were Jesus and Mary. So And I think Jackie, it was those people, at least today. Now, who knows? Who knows? It's a theory. So, so I entered, let's see, how did I get there? Yeah. Well, I was watching a show, or not a show, a movie called Cyrano de Bergerac. And it's from the 1950 version. And the reason I watched it was, I know the movie Roxanne is important in all this because it comes up in coding. And Steve Martin is important in all this. So, I mean, I've seen that before, but I haven't watched it recently, so I haven't decoded it. But when I was looking up things about it, I saw that there was just a regular movie called Cyrano de Bergerac, and it was from 1950. So, like I said, Roxanne is based on Cyrano de Bergerac. So, I decided to watch it. It was so good. Really, really good. I think you guys would love it. And so I entered into matrix.org, and if you haven't done it before, it's like A equals 1 through Z equals 26 when you're working it out. And you just enter your word or your phrase, and you'll end up with different matches. Now, before you get your matches, there's Jewish, that's a choice of 3, like on the menu after you enter your word or phrase. Jewish is first, English is second, and simple, which is what we always work on, is third. So you click on simple, and then look at the matches that come up, and decide between yourself, your spirit, and God what they want you to see, what everyone wants you to see. And you'll start getting a theme after a while, believe me. It won't be questionable after you've done this for a while. You'll know what they're trying to tell you. So I entered into matrix.org JFK Jr. Cyrano. Just wondering, you know, because it's so important with everything. What would happen if I entered that? By chance, it equals 131 John F. Kennedy. Well, what are the odds, right? 131 equals the chosen one, Don J. Trump. And a phrase that he said lately, we caught them all. So that was interesting, isn't it? And poof, you die. So, okay, so basically what I'm saying is, JFK Jr. Cyrano, C-Y-R-A-N-O, is 131. So it equals John F. Kennedy. So John F. Kennedy matches poof, you die. So you can look at it different ways. You can look at it as the bad guys. You can look at it as him. There's other ways to look at these things. So then I tried President Kennedy, and then at the same entry, President Kennedy, Cyrano de Bergerac. It equals 332, and it equals, you've led a lot of different lives. So was he it, or was he Junior? The same person? I don't know. And the root and offspring of David. And we know that President Kennedy was at the Flight 93 memorial a couple of years ago, maybe it's 3 years ago now. And it's on, let's see, it's on the best one to see if you're looking for it is the PBS video, because it's longer and it'll have his speech in it too. So he gives a speech, Jackie is sitting behind him, she doesn't give a speech, and the only other person that gives a real speech is President Trump. And then the 4 of them, President Trump, Melania, and JFK and Jackie, walk off the stage together, and they're a little bit hidden as they're walking off. So I thought that was really cool. So President de Bergerac, I mean, you try everything, right? You just try everything. It's 178, and that equals O positive blood. And remember I talked about a while ago, because a friend of mine on on comments brought that up, or actually it was on the phone. Yeah, it was on the phone, and had a card that she could show me that showed that at least when he was in Congress, Senator Kennedy had O positive blood listed. Now, some of you guys say, well, he had to say O positive because if you put the real blood type down, they would try to take him out because they'd know who he was. So, I mean, that's an argument, granted, so I'm not sure. Let's see. I think I had a little bit, like I always do, because it takes too long. The Lady Vanishes, remember in the back of the magazine was a DVD. It's a really good movie. It might be 1938. It's black and white. And I've watched this for a long time. So I've had on a match before, you've been prepared your whole life, something along those lines. And I feel like I have, because I've loved all these mystery movies, Poirot, Sherlock Holmes. Like, it's like my favorite stuff to watch. And Alfred Hitchcock, and especially The Lady Vanishes. So The Lady Vanishes is 172, and it equals Hillary Clinton. So The Lady Vanishes equals Hillary Clinton. You think somebody knows way back then what's going on in the future? Yeah. And it equals The Lady is a Tramp. And then No Big Surprise. I think this is so funny. John Kennedy. All that matches. The Lady Vanishes. So, anyway. You guys probably think I'm weird, but I think it's fun. Then, still on the back cover of the magazine I showed you. And, let's see. There was an album, like an LP, great big record, the Oscar Peterson Trio, and it equals 263. And then we have Trio, right? Like I'm looking at it as there's 3 men, 3 women, goddesses, if you want to look at it that way. So Oscar Peterson Trio. So it equals Raymond's Christ, it's plural, Raymond's Christ, Father. If I know, you know. How about this one? The Plan to Save the World. Remember? All those favorite anon kind of videos. And it was by Joe Massapose or Missapose. I'm not sure how to say it. Massepose. And I know it means something not flattering, but I won't go into that. But Joe is in there. Remember my thing with Joseph Patrick Kennedy Jr.? And you can also look at it as me pose as Joe. So then we have, what can I do to redeem myself? Which I think is a couple of them at least are wondering. But they think they know. Like, I shouldn't say they're wondering. They know. Let's see. Okay, another 263 for the Oscar Peterson Trio is Moon Travel to Saturn. Now, believe it or not, I'm not sure if you remember, but Juana SAVIN said a long time back that it's hard to understand, basically, but that the saturnalias, or the Satanists, that's what saturnalias are. And there's saturnalias festivals, which is really weird, and people don't even know what it really means all over the place. So they want to use the moon to get back to Saturn, is what he said. And that's because if you look at the Gojlamaste videos that I talk about, the Crater Earth series that he has, you'll understand what that means. So it's GODGEVLAMSTE. Okay, so then I did Night Train, because that's right on the magazine, and it's that series, you know, on the bottom. Night Train. And it's 120. It equals Mr. Ray Kocha, Koceja. That's our guy. You know, that's like the top guy, as far as I can understand. It equals gematria codes, or gematria. I always say it different ways every day. Spellbound, Flaming Star, Kim Jong-un, remember all the FFs, cardiac arrest, like, oh my gosh, be still my heart, it's awful. Fake story, it was all fake. All that matches Night Train 120. Oh, almost forgot, Saint Mary matches 120. Doppelganger, like the twin, Junior and Joseph Patrick. Isaac Cappy, our guy that looked like he went off a bridge but didn't. I'm sure he's Junior, and it all codes out like that too. And then we have Joe is shot, which is a quote from President Trump. He said several times. And life after death. Oh, and this is a positive one to end on, or this part. Paul Newman matches 120. And if you guys love Paul Newman like I do, he's not gone. He's here. And he's in a Clouseau video. So you guys should look up all the Clouseau videos and get real happy. He's right there sitting in the front. RSBN is interviewing a couple of people right by him. And you can see Paul Newman sitting there looking at him like, okay, you know, I know why I'm here. It's weird that they're talking to somebody. It's funny. So back to SAVINIEN, okay? So the reason that, one of the reasons, I shouldn't say the reason, that I was looking at Cyrano de Bergerac is that the first name of Cyrano de Bergerac is SAVINIEN. Okay, so I don't think that's a coincidence. And when I was looking at I put that in on my search. I put SAVINIEN first, and then Cyrano de Bergerac, and it would, I'm sorry, HERCULE, I can't say with an H, it's HERCULE. When you get it in the French language, it comes up with HERCULE as part of his name. Now when I watched the movie, Cyrano de Bergerac, he said, it's a little confusing, but he said his name was Cyrano SAVINIEN, HERCULE de Bergerac. So there's his whole name. So HERCULE is so cool because especially if you watch the Poirots that used to be on PBS, and David Suchet, Suchet, in case I'm saying it wrong, he was Poirot for years and years and years. So he's probably the most current Poirot as far as I know. It's Poirot. So one of the funny things about Poirot, and there's a little humor in it as well, it's not just like a murder mystery. So people will say his name and say it incorrectly, and he corrects them and says it's HERCULE, like I'm not in the picture, I'm not doing it right. HERCULE, like President Trump does, right? Like an HERCULE, like he does at rallies once in a while. He did it for a bit in a row, but not lately. So that's what we call them, AIR, AIR-Q. So here we have Poirot saying you pronounce it HERCULE. And remember President Kennedy, I had it in a different video, I'm not sure what it was called. It might have just been called, President Kennedy's speech. I think it was with Huntley and Brinkley, so it might have been called that. It was two reporters, and he had a formal sit-down interview with David Huntley and Chet Brinkley. It's a great one to listen to or watch. I mean, you can watch the video. And what was it? I'm trying to think where I saw it. I can't think, but you'll just look for it. Kennedy interview Huntley and Brinkley. So during that interview, near the end, when it was supposedly off camera, but it was still being recorded, he made an error cue. So that's pretty cool. So let's see. Okay, yeah, I got the birth date and death date of Cyrano de Bergerac, or SAVINIEN Cyrano. He was born 3/6/1619. And if you add up the year, 1619, you add up all the numbers, it's 17. And then you add up obviously the 3 and the 6, and you get 9, which is the most high number. So take that 9 from the first part, the 3 plus 6, and then take 17. Oh, I'm sorry, no, take the 9 from 1619, because you can look at things like that. You can pick them out, and you have 99, and that equals most high in simple gematria. So he died on 7/28/1655, and add the first numbers up, 7 and 2 and 8, it's 17. And then you have a 5/5 from 1655, and 5/5 is JFKJR. And then add up all the numbers, just like I did on 1619, just add up 19. Well, here we have add up 1, 6, and 5, and 5, and you have 17 again. So you have a 17 in both years. So what Cyrano de Bergerac was, he was a novelist, a playwright. They called him an epistolarian, which I guess was a thing. It means a writer of letters. He wrote letters like all the time. And I don't know why there's a title for that. And he was a duelist, DUEL, duelist. So, I was reading more about duels, and especially back then, the person who was challenged could choose the weapon for the duel. So it didn't always have to be a sword, or, of course it could have been pistols and things like that. And let's see. Oh, yeah, this is sad. So if the person who did the challenging, if the winner didn't cause a DEATH, I have to spell things out sometimes, then the person who won could then KILL the loser. And because their honor was so important, that if you didn't have your honor, you had basically nothing. I'm thinking, you couldn't conduct business because people wouldn't trust you if your honor was taken away. So it probably was a life and death kind of situation for the person who was kind of besmirched. So I think that's the point of that is. But if you look back and think at the biblical times, what they would do is the army would send out their champion, and then each army, say they were going to fight each other. They didn't all go head to head. At least sometimes they sent out a champion, like David and Goliath, and they fought. And that's what. And in regular duels, at least back then, way back, they could, I don't even want to say it, and then put them somewhere public. Like that's what happened to Goliath, if you remember. David took it, and yeah. Well, anyway, so let's see. Yeah. So then I found a quote when I was looking about duels about from Andrew Jackson, who I think is all President Trump is somehow in there. Yeah, because he loves Andrew Jackson, and I think he had the painting in Oval Office. I might be wrong, but so dueling was a way to retain a person's honor, like I said before. So the quote by Andrew Jackson said that this is literally the quote: "The views of the Earl are those of a Christian, but unless some mode is adopted to frown down by society the slanderer." In other words, I understand what he's saying, but unless society figures out a way to get the slanderer to cut it out or take back what he said or somehow remedy the situation, things aren't going to be okay, in his opinion. So, to frown down by society the slanderer, who is worse than a murderer. This is from Andrew Jackson, president. I think he was president at the time. Who is worse than a murderer. All attempts to put down dueling will be in vain. Now, I was thinking about when I read that about President Trump and how he said for a long time, not like really recently, but he said for a long time that he wanted to have stronger libel laws. In other words, if you say something to hurt someone, just say it. Not like there has to be an action, like I'm taking you down physically or business-wise, like you're saying something that hurts another, like you're lying and saying that that person's not trustworthy or that person's a fiend and all kinds of things. That so I just think that what President Trump was saying refers back to Andrew Jackson in talking about libel laws and retaining someone's honor. I wouldn't be surprised if we go back to something like that. I'm not talking about that part, but the part where you better not say bad things about someone just because you're mad at them, about their business or, that kind of thing. Yeah, I think we will. Oh, another thing I meant to tell you when I was talking about the magazine. This magazine isn't very thick, right? See, I don't know if you can see. Can you see? I mean, it's not thin, but it's not super thick like some magazines. There's not a single ad in here, not one. So everything is content. Every single page. There's humor. I mean, it's really well written by all the folks that were in here. It's wonderful. And I think that's how things will be going in the future. There won't even be advertising in this kind of thing. I think, you just pay for it. I mean, it would cost $10 at the time, but it costs a little more, but you don't get all the advertising. So I think that's what's going to happen. And Cyrano de Bergerac, it's interesting. There's a little blurb, I guess, about his dad. And when somebody passed on, back then especially, you wrote down everything that they had as a possession. So in his father's house were 12 small paintings of portraits of gods and goddesses, and 4 wax figures. And JFK was partly made out of wax in the limo. He was all in a robotic automaton kind of thing. They had like a little explosive thing in the head, and there was wax involved. And I know that from I have so many decodes, so many, over a long period of time. So I'm not even questioning that one. So it's interesting that it came up with wax figures. Had one of Venus and Cupid also, and let's see, I won't go into all that other stuff, but it's interesting, and books by well-known Protestants. And I was thinking John Calvin, because he's a famous, writer who was involved in the movement, and JC, Jesus Christ. That kind of just made me wonder about that. Yeah, this is confusing, so I'm just going to read it. HERCULE, CYRANO, whatever, SAVINIEN, de BERGERAC. I'm getting the names out of order. His godmother's husband was counselor and secretary to the king, household. He was the secretary to the king, the household, and the crown of France, and of the parish of Saint Germain, L apostrophe AUXERROIS. Laro? I'm not sure. So Saint Germain gets thrown in there too. So anyway, I'm on to another little bit of change. I'm a member of GREG WAGLAND's channel. Now, Mr. Handy signed up for it for me because I was like, oh, Mr. Handy, will you do this for me? And he signed up at this really low membership, and I was like, oh, I was embarrassed, so I'm hoping he'll just change it. Because he does all the, because I get so annoyed with things, because it'll say, oh, your email is wrong. I don't know. So I get really frustrated with this stuff. So he usually does it for me. And GREG WAGLAND, WAGLAND, is the one that I've been talking about with the audiobooks of Sherlock Holmes and lots of other books. So it's not just Sherlock Holmes. So yeah, so I think his name is GREG WAGLAND because WAG for the dog wagging his tail. And you know, Junior had the dog called Friday. So I think it's just a play on words, really. And he's got this wonderful British accent, which I've talked about before. And you'll think, oh, that can't be him, or that can't be JFK, or it can't be Junior, or whatever. It can't be him because he doesn't sound like him. I think these people can sound like whoever they want. I really do. So the last post that he had for channel members on YouTube was February 5th. Now I haven't looked at it in a couple days. He might have another one for March. But when I was writing this, it was February 5th, 2022. And it took all the capitals from his post. And, well, not that you care, but all the capitals were FHCMJCG, which equals 50. 50 equals I am JFK. I don't think you can get more obvious than that. E equals 50 is all these things. And there's so many that are awesome that I'll just read a bunch. 50 equals I am a god. It equals Fusca. It equals Donald. The Q. I said it. Take it back. Take it back. Jacket. And you'll probably think, well, why is she bringing up jacket? And I was thinking of Isaac Cappy has a song on YouTube called Jackets and Brackets. So that I thought of that, and I thought of Jackie's pink two-piece suit. It was kind of like a jacket, and I thought of that with the fake blood on it. And I thought of what's this, Dr. McClelland, McClelland, and he's in this certain interview. I know I've talked about this before, but in this certain interview at the library in Dallas, it's just like he's sitting on a stage with a reporter and he's answering questions about the assassination. And then at the very end of it, he pulls out a plastic case type thing where you can see through it, a bag kind of thing, and it's got his jacket that he wore in the OR when they were trying to save President Kennedy. And it's all going to come back. I for a long time I thought, well, it's going to be important because they're going to see that it wasn't his blood, it was someone else's blood, like Sergeant Tippit. I thought he was who was really in the memorial grave. in Washington. I thought that for a while, and I realized, no, Sergeant Tippit was all part of this. Sergeant Tippit was an FF. So Sergeant Tippit, I don't think he really existed. I mean, they say he had a wife. He was buried the next day. You know, he was a sergeant from the Dallas police, from the Dallas Police Department, and supposedly he was knocked off, right after the, I can't say so many words, it's so frustrating. Let's see, what else matches 50? Darby, and I saw that, I haven't listened to the whole thing, but, well, only a little bit of it, really. Not yet, I haven't listened to much of it yet, but it's Pride and Prejudice, and it's read by a woman, and she's supposed to be a friend of GREG WAGLAND that I was just talking about. And hi, honey. Rosie's here to visit. And she's reading Pride and Prejudice, so I wonder who that is. I wonder. And let's see, what else can I tell you? You want to sit in my lap? 50 equals Mr. R for our R Anon. And this is so cool. Look what else it matches. A Brit, B-R-I-T, like a British citizen, a Brit. And GREG WAGLAND sounds like a Brit. So it's also, but also it's Mr. R, Then we have Don Q. I give up. I can't edit everything. So, I always thought, oh, well, we're talking about, President Trump, and that's what that means. I've seen that before in decoding other things, but now I'm thinking, is it Don Quixote? And I don't know if I said that right either, but yeah, oh gosh. Well, anyway, I'm going to wrap this up because Rosie's getting in trouble. So I love you guys. I'll say goodbye. Take care.